I'm Travis Hugos, and this is the first installment of the Commute. I'm going to be talking about life, love, my creative process, books, movies, philosophy, anything that really pops into my head on my way to work. I oftentimes get really bored driving in and out of work, and so I decided that it would be a good time to try to do something productive, and what is more productive than doing a video journal about things that I love. And so I thought for the first video journal that I would do Richard Hugos' Triggering Town. We'll be talking about it. And I'm going to try not to run off the road. Richard Hugos is a famous poet and writer, and also a teacher. And I try to read this book, Triggering Town, at least once a year. And it's about that time, so I decided to reread over the introduction and chapter 1, and right off the bat I picked up on some things that I haven't done in a long time, and some things that I haven't thought about in a long time, at least a year. And so, as the title suggests, Triggering Town, there are certain triggers that every artist has, whether it's a writer, musician, dancer, quilter, whatever you do that's artistic. There's certain things that trigger that moment, whether it be falling in love, or getting a new house, or possibly having a child, or it could be like the more insignificant moments, such as like rain falling on a window, or the smell of grass, clippings during the summer as somebody mows the yard, something minuscule that pops up, such as gravel falling off of the back of a semi-truck. Just small things that pop into your head as an artist that trigger a subject and get you thinking about things in a different way. Really get your imagination working. And Richard Hugos' first chapter is writing off the subject. So once you have a trigger in mind, and you have something that's significant or insignificant in your life that kind of makes you think about things a little bit differently, you have to challenge yourself to write off subject. And for a lot of artists, he says that the words have to conform to the music, or the music has to conform to the words. And at first I didn't understand what he meant by that, but as I've been pursuing my musical project, and as I've been writing, I ran into it myself, time and time again. For example, I was riding down the road one day and I had a trigger. I was listening to Bob Dylan's Route 66, and it talks about the highway, and the day passed on and I was driving along, and I came off the highway onto an exit, and there was this couple, and they were a transient couple, and they had their backpacks and they were sitting out doing their thing. And I got to thinking about what it would be like to be in a relationship out on the road like that. I mean, relationships, they have their own struggles and their own rewards as it is, but out on the road I imagine it's just that much crazier. Like, I imagine the rewards are super awesome, and that the challenges are super hard. And I got to thinking about what would happen if you broke up in that kind of situation, and what would that look like? And so I came up with the song Minnesota that I've been working on, and the lyric goes, "Right off the highway, Rochester, Minnesota, told me not to worry about us being over, just be glad for the company." And I was. I had this trigger with that couple. It triggered that line, and then I had the subject that I wanted to talk about, but then I had to make a decision. Do I want to be true to my own personal experience and be honest, completely honest, or do I want to write off subject? Do I want to talk about something that I don't know about, or let the words be beautiful in a way that doesn't match to the truth? And so I could have said, right off the highway, Sade Daisy, Tennessee, or right off the highway, Hickson, Tennessee, places that I personally have lived and spent time in. I've never been to Rochester, Minnesota. But it just didn't fit the line. Right off the highway, Sade Daisy, Tennessee, told me not to worry about us being over, just be glad for the company. It just doesn't sound good. So I don't know where Rochester, Minnesota came from, but it just kind of popped into my head as I was playing the song, and it was like, right off the highway, Rochester, Minnesota, told me not to worry about us being over. And it's got a sing-song element to it, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, that I really like. And it may not necessarily be the truth, and it may be, kind of ridiculous, because I don't know anything about Rochester, Minnesota. I've never been there, and for all I know, Rochester, Minnesota could be ridiculous, but it fit in what I was trying to do. And Richard Hugos says that, as a poet or an artist or a writer or whatever it is that you do, that you have to believe in your voice, that you have to believe that you are the end-all and be-all, and that you have to own your imagination in a way, and that if it fits the purpose of your narrative for the blue door to be red, then let it be red. And if it's supposed to be night when, it was originally day, then let it be night. It's not necessarily about what is true in the matter, it's about what fits with your personal artistic work. And it's hard to get away from that. And I didn't realize that would be a struggle for me until I earnestly started to try the creative process and become a writer. And when I was in college, I had a professor, his name was Earl Braggs, and he was brilliant, and I took all of his classes. Rick Jackson was another professor I had. He was equally as great, and I'll talk about him at some point, I imagine. But Earl in particular, he said that in my artwork and in my music and in my writing, that I was trying to take it to church when it wanted to go to the racetracks. And that really stuck out for me in a lot of ways, because there were some edgier aspects to my personality, and there were some things that I wasn't dealing with, and some parts of my imagination that I wasn't comfortable with playing, and my personality that I wasn't comfortable playing with. And then he said, just let it be what it is. Allow yourself the breathing room to think of something different than what you've already thought before. And it really opened up my creative process in a lot of ways. Now, it's actually the way that I view life in general. Whenever I find myself trying to take things to church and they want to go to the racetracks, I just let them go to the racetracks, and vice versa. And I think it's important as a writer to give yourself permission to be ridiculous. If you want to write a poem about pigs flying, it may be cliche, it may be stupid. People might not be interested in it. You may not even want to write the subject yourself. But the thing is that you never know what you're going to discover in the process of doing it. Richard Hugos, he quotes an author. One of the characters says, and I'm paraphrasing, it may not be absolutely correct, but she says, how do I know what I think until I know what I've said? And I think that's very applicable in a way to the creative process. I mean, how can I truly know what I think about this subject, Minnesota, or about the subject of life, unless I actually take the time to write it down and give my subconscious the freedom to tool around and figure out what it is that I think about it. And I think that it's a good challenge going into the new year and going into the creative process in general. And something that I'm going to be personally working on, and I hope that this is helpful in a way. So I just want to thank you for tuning in for this, and if you enjoy the book, Richard Hugos' Triggering Time, tune in next time. My personal website is www.traviskilgore.com. I hope to do this kind of regularly. We'll see how it goes. But find a trigger, pick your subject, give yourself permission to write off of subject, and when you write off of subject, be surprised in what you find, because I think that's the most beautiful thing about art, is being surprised about what you find in the process. So that's, once again, www.traviskilgore.com. Thanks for tuning in. This has been The Commute. Hope you have a nice evening. Cheers.